Hello, my name is John and I'm going to try to make what I'm calling Californian Singapore noodles today. The catalyst for this Singapore noodle dish were these right here. I have lots of ingredients here, but the main ingredient is right here. It's called my foon, which is translated to rice sticks, I guess. I looked online for lots of different recipes. I saw egg rolls, I saw chicken salads, other noodle dishes. But this recipe was the one that stuck out the most to me. It's kind of a variation of an online recipe that I got from a Singapore site, but probably not as spicy because they called for jalapenos in the original one. But for my ingredients, if you look down below in the text, or if you go onto my blog, which hopefully should also appear at this point somewhere in a comment bubble, I'll give you the list of ingredients and a little bit more instructions. But this is just a quick video on how I made it so that you can kind of get a rough idea of how this all goes together. So with that, let's get this started and we'll go from there. Okay, now what I have here is I have two bowls, and this bigger bowl is where I'm going to soak my noodles. You've noticed I've already put one of the packages in there. I'm trying to spread it out. This is just lukewarm water. I can touch it, no problem. I'm not feeling uncomfortable. This one over here is where I'm going to put my mushrooms, and notice I just touched it very barely because it's very hot water. And this is where I'm going to be putting my shiitake mushrooms to dehydrate those. And so it's very hot, and I'm going to leave this in here for about 8 minutes until they get springy in texture. I'll come back to these later so you can see them. And this one I'm going to leave for about 8 to 10 minutes until I can reasonably cut up the mushrooms and they'll be soft enough to cut up. So that's what I'm going to do now, is put those in. Okay, I'm back. I'm back again. As you can know, in any good cooking recipe there's a lot of prep to do and a lot of patience. I just wanted to show you, I'm about halfway through my prep. I haven't gotten the onions yet, and I still need to get the bean sprouts and shrimp and stuff, but I wanted to show you what it's looking like right now. Basically what I've done so far is I've chopped up my onions. I made sure that they're nice and thin. And again, here's my celery over here. It's nice and thin. As you can see, the mushrooms have dehydrated and I've cut them thin. And then over here I wanted to show you the noodles, because the noodles are the most important part. Like I said, this was just lukewarm water, so slightly above room temperature. And now the noodles, hopefully you can see this, are kind of stringy. They're stringy, but they're not clumped together and they're not cooked. We'll be cooking them further on later, so that's fine. But I just wanted to show you the consistency. They're nice and soft. So I'm going to take these and I'm going to put them in my colander and I'm going to strain them and then just put them right back in the bowl again. The recipe calls for 1 pound of char siu barbecue pork, but I don't have barbecue pork. What I do have is these thinly sliced pieces of pork, almost look like bacon, but they're not bacon, that I got from a Korean butcher. You can get it at your regular butcher, just have them slice it really thin. And I do have some hoisin sauce, and this is what I'm going to use for my barbecue. So I'm just going to liberally apply this in there. I'm going to need 2 hands for this, and I'm just going to liberally coat these and let them sit, and then I'm going to take them over and fry them, and that's how I'm going to get the barbecue pork. I'm back again. As you can see, I marinated thoroughly my pork into that hoisin sauce. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this hoisin sauce and I'm going to bring it over here to my pan, and I'm just going to fry it. I'm going to turn on the heat here, and I'm going to fry it until it's just slightly brown. Okay, what I've done is I put them in with just a tiny bit of water. I put the top on this little pan that I have here, and I'm going to steam them. Like I said, I'm just trying to get them brown, not very well cooked, just a little bit cooked until they're slightly brown on all sides, and then I'll take them out and set them aside for the rest of this. Okay, this is what we were looking for. The meat is nice and brown. It's got a great barbecuey smell to it. And so I'm going to take this and put it into the bowl and just set it aside. We'll come back to it, but we don't need it for right now. So I'm just setting all this meat aside until we need it for later in the recipe. So I have a saucepan now, and I have it on a medium heat. Actually, I'm going to turn down that heat so it's a little bit low. I just want a medium heat. Nice, easy, and we're going to start our saute. I've already put in 2 tablespoons of onions in there. And now I'm going to put in my curry powder, my ginger, and my minced garlic. So let's go ahead. I've added in the curry, the minced garlic, the oil, and my ginger, and I'm mixing it together, and I'm trying to get it all together until it's fragrant. And I'm already starting to smell those. This doesn't take much time at all. In fact, I can already smell it. So with that, I can mix together my next set of ingredients, which is going to be my chicken broth, my soy sauce, my sugar, and we'll go from there. And then we'll saute those all together. So here I go with my sugar, my soy sauce, my chicken. Okay, I have all my sauce ingredients now in here, and I'm just going to let this go basically for about 5 minutes. I'm going to cook it for 5 minutes, and then as soon as it's done for 5 minutes, I'll just set it aside, and then it'll be done. It'll be ready after about 5 minutes of cooking on this medium heat. You can cover it if you want. I think I'll cover it with this big one. It's the only top I have, which is a little bit too big for it, but that's enough to cover it for now. Just to keep it in a little bit. I don't want to dissipate all the water, and I'm just going to leave it there for 5 minutes and then set aside, and then we can go on to starting to do ours. I now have a large pan here, and this is where we get into the serious stir frying. I've already put 2 tablespoons of oil in there. I'm going to put in the last remaining part of my garlic in there and my ginger. Put all my ginger. And I'm now going to put in all my vegetables. So all the vegetables that I have over here are going to go in there. This is all under a high heat. I'm trying to brown in that garlic and that ginger a little bit. But basically all my vegetables can go in at this point. I'm putting those all in. Okay, so I finished mixing in my vegetables. Are all nice and stir fried, so I'm going to actually take these out. I got a blue bowl over here, and I'm going to just set them aside into the blue bowl and get my meat and my shrimp ready. So I have my vegetables set aside, and I have my last 2 tablespoons in here of my oil, and I'm going to add my shrimp into the wok under that high heat, and I'm going to add in, remember that meat that we barbecued before. I'm going to add that in there. And the goal here is I'm just going to keep it moving until my shrimp are nice and pink on both sides. And we'll go with that. So now I got to cook my shrimp. You'll know it's done because it'll be nice and pink on both sides. And see how it's curling up already? That's great. They're going to curl up like that. They're going to be perfect. And then we'll move on to the noodle. So it's been about 2 minutes now since I've been cooking this, and if you see the shrimp, they're definitely more pink and they've curled up, which is pretty much a good sign that they're ready to go. So now that I know that they're ready, I can go ahead and start adding my noodles back in. Remember those noodles that I set aside? I'm going to add those back in, and so they go in the pot now. And then here comes back my vegetables, and I need to mix that in. So I'm going to go ahead and mix those in, and then will come the sauce that I put aside, and then the oyster sauce, and then we'll be done. So I've added in all the sauces and the vegetables and the meat and the shrimp, and it kind of got heavy burden, so I've asked Denise here to help me out, and it really takes, like you can see, 2 forks. I've put in it's really heavy, and you got to just keep on mixing it the whole time, and the goal of this all is just to get this as mixed up as possible as I can. It gets pretty crazy. I think if I was to do this again, I'd probably only make half the recipe, because even for this big pan that I have here, it's pretty big. But you can see the noodles are taking on this nice brown coloring from all the different sauces that we've put in there, and that's exactly what we want it to do. We want it to just to get nice brown, and when it's totally brown throughout and everything's mixed up the way you like it, you are ready to serve. So I'll come back when we have. Okay, it's done. This is my finished product. I've got a bowl of California Singapore noodles, and what do you think, Denise?
Very yummy, gingery. That's my main reaction, is I can definitely taste the ginger.
What do you think, AJ? Do you like it?
Yeah.
Is it good?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good too. The only other thing is it took a little bit longer than what I thought it was going to take. I think if I was to do it again, I'd only do half the recipe, and then you have to know between prep and cooking it took about 1.5 hours. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and enjoy my California Singapore noodles.